Daniel. Is that gone? No, we'll do. I did go to university. Okay, I'm going to start right from the beginning. So I finished my A-levels and I did not get the grade that I wanted. I got 2 Ds and an E. I did English literature, history and psychology, and I wanted to study psychology at Bournemouth University. I went to view it with my dad, absolutely fell in love with the university, but I think I needed 2 Bs and a C, and I got 2 Ds and an E. So it came to results day and I'd already got my email from UCAS in the morning, like really early in the morning at like 9 a.m. Or even earlier than that, I think it might have been like 7 a.m. Basically saying that I had not been accepted into my first or second choice of university because my grades were absolutely horrific. So I knew this and I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my mum. I pretended that I didn't get the email and I was just like, right, let's go to school, get my results and see what they're like. Because even though in the email it said that I didn't get into my first and second choice of university, they didn't tell me what my actual grades were or my results were. So I kind of said to everyone, I pretended that I didn't have the email and I was like, let's go to school and get my results. I actually went by myself, and because I knew that I hadn't got into my first and my second choice of university, usually in previous years I've gone like for GCSEs and stuff and first year of A-levels, I'd gone to school to collect the results and gone out of the school grounds to open them because I've never been really that academic and all my friends seem to do like amazingly well at exams and I never really excelled at them. So I used to go out of the school grounds, open them by myself, and then once I could digest what grades I'd got, I'd go back in and talk about it with my friends. But because I knew I hadn't got into my first and second choice of university, I thought there's no point because I kind of knew what the envelope was going to tell me. And also because like I resented school so much in the last year of sixth form that I was just so happy that this was the last ever time I was going to go to school, was to pick up my results, and I was never ever going to step foot in that school again or see any of the teachers. So I just literally didn't care and I was so brash and I just opened them in front of everyone, and all my other friends got into their first choice unis and it was such a horrible day for me. They all got into their first choice unis. My best friend and my other best friend both did, and when I opened them and I saw I'd got 2 Ds and an E, I then told everyone that I hadn't got into my first and second choice of university, and the only other option for me was to go through clearing, which nobody wants to do because that is like the get out way of getting into university. But that's what I did. No, I didn't get 2 Ds and an E. I got a B, a D and an E. Because my head of year, Miss McFerrin, I went straight to her and said I need to go through clearing because I want to study psychology, and that was what I got an E in. And she was my history teacher and she said, why don't you go through clearing and try and do a degree in history because you got a B in it. And I was like, wow, this is the reason why I can't wait to be at school anymore, because no one can dictate what I want to do with my life. I'd done well in history, but it wasn't my passion and I didn't want to do that at university. So I thought, why spend money and a waste of 3 years doing something that I absolutely despised and didn't want to do just because I was good at it? So that was it. I left school. I drove home because I was actually driving at the time. I drove home. I was in such a rage like with everyone because I couldn't share like anyone else's happiness and success. And my teachers were all just winding me up so much because they were telling me to do history and they just didn't get it. So this sounds really, really pathetic, but I went home and I got into bed and I cried for a good about an hour and a half and I had a little sleep, and then I woke up and I felt so much better, and I thought, okay, like now's the time I need to go through the whole process of clearing and stuff. Because I just needed like time to digest like shit. I'm not going to Bournemouth University or my second choice, which I can't even remember what it was. And there's probably a high possibility that I'm not going to be able to study psychology because it was my worst grade of my A-levels. but I was ready to like call up all the unis and go through clearing. So anyway, like I feel like I've rambled so long about like A-level results and stuff. So I called up a few universities and I was telling them what I'd got in psychology, and they were like, absolutely hell no. If you've got an E in psychology at A-level, like there is absolutely no way that we're going to let you study at uni. So I was like, great. But I did not give up, and I think it was like the 8th uni that I called, Northampton Uni, and they accepted me on a course for psychology, and that was it. Like I was going to Bournemouth see, I had my heart so set on Bournemouth University that I'm even saying it now. I was going to Northampton University, and to me, all that had changed was I was still going to uni. It was just a different one. Yes, I hadn't viewed it. Yes, I was getting whatever accommodation was left, but I just didn't care because at least I was still going to uni, and it was closer to home, which was like a really, really good thing. So yeah, and then that night, me and my best friend, we went out and we celebrated, and I remember writing on Instagram a picture of me and her on our night out saying Birmingham Uni, Northampton Uni, and to me it just didn't matter that I'd gone through clearing. All that mattered was that I could still share some kind of success with my friends on the night out, and because everyone was going out because it was like A-level results day, and everyone just like wanted to go out and get really drunk, so that's what we done. Anyway, I feel like I have rambled about a completely different topic than what I was meant to. Going into university, first year, the 2 weeks of freshers was amazing. I made so many friends, like it was so fun to like get to know so many different types of people that were from different places and different cultures, and because nobody knew anyone, like we could talk to whoever we wanted and there was no judgment passed or anything, and it was great. The first 2 weeks, amazing, because you didn't actually start uni for those 2 weeks. You were just partying and making friends and discovering the nightlife and stuff. And then after that, like the course started, and I actually really did enjoy the first few modules in my course. I think they were cognitive psychology, social psychology. It was kind of like a remake of A-level psychology, and I kind of liked A-level psychology, so it wasn't too bad. And then so I went to uni in September, and around February time, I started to feel really down. I don't want to say that I was depressed, because I feel like the word depression has such a stigma against it. I feel like you have to be like, I feel like the stigma around depression is like you have to be mentally ill to be depressed, and I wasn't mentally ill. I was just very down, and I was crying all the time, and I just couldn't understand why I was feeling this way, because I had made such great friends. I had got a boyfriend at this point as well, and I was doing okay in my degree. Like I wasn't falling behind or anything like that. I just felt down. It wasn't even really necessarily that I missed home either, because there was a lot of stuff going on at home that I just didn't want to be there for. So I couldn't pinpoint why I was feeling down, but I just was, and it progressively got worse. And I kind of ignored it, and I didn't tell anyone about it. And it didn't really affect my studies either. So I finished first year with a 2-2, and I was happy with that. I kind of wanted a 2-1, but I finished with a 2-2, and I went home for the summer, and I went back for my second year in September, and I promised myself that I wouldn't get so down. And even to this point, when I went back in second year, I didn't know why I was so down, and I still couldn't pinpoint it. So when I went back for second year, I just promised myself I wasn't going to get that down, and I was just going to make the most of it, because I only had 2 years left, and 3 years of uni seemed like such a long time when you first go. But it's actually like goes really, really fast, and I couldn't believe I was already entering my second year. And I promised myself I'd go to every lecture, and I'd try my absolute hardest with my studies, because I really wanted a 2-1. So the first couple of months, it was like clockwork. It was kind of like the same as my first year. The first couple of months were amazing, and I went to every lecture, and I did every bit of work and every bit of reading that there was to do. And it was all smooth sailing. And then it was around October, November time, so after a couple of months, that my relationship had broken down at uni, and that really affected me, because we met in first year and we were like kind of crazy in love, and it just broke down and we split up, and that affected me, obviously, but I really tried like to keep it separate from my studies, because I just wanted to do so well, and I had my heart set on getting a 2-1. But it crept in, and the overwhelming feeling of being down all the time was just back with a vengeance. And I don't know if that was brought on by my university life or if that was brought on from the breakdown of my relationship. I still don't really know, but me and him, we split up and we never got back together, so I could kind of move on, and the downness was still there even months later. So even in we split up in October, and then even by February, March time the next year, I was still so down. And by this point, it had affected my studies so much, to the point where I was getting Fs in my assignments, and because I was getting Fs, I wasn't resitting them because I thought there was no point. And I kind of really withdrew into myself, and I stayed in bed all day. I partied every single night, and I stayed in bed all day and slept all day, and got up, I would eat something, I would shower, I would get ready, I would go out, and I would sleep the whole day next day, and I would just repeat it. I wasn't going to lectures, I wasn't going to seminars, and nobody knew. Even my housemates didn't know. It got to the point where it was really, I was portraying really bizarre behaviour, to the point where I'd get all my books out in my bedroom on my desk, so that any of my housemates came into my room, it would look like I'd been studying, when really all I'd been doing was laying in bed crying to myself. But it became clear to me why I felt so down at uni. And the reason was I couldn't distinguish between what uni is supposed to be and what it actually is. And let me explain. So what uni is supposed to be you're so mature, you're living by yourself, you're cooking for yourself, you're buying all your shit by yourself, and you're paying rent by yourself, even though obviously you've got a student loan to help you, but you're still managing your finances by yourself. And you're supposed to be this really respected adult that's at uni and studying to be a better person. That's what it looks like from the outside, and what it's supposed to be. And what it really is you go out every single night and you act like an absolute child. You have casual sex for no reason. You actually can't manage your money because you're in your overdraft pretty much a whole 3 years you're at university. And no one really takes their uni work incredibly seriously. So they're just completely different, and I couldn't get my head around that. And my mum thought I was so grown up and I was managing everything just fine, and she had this almost utmost respect for me because I was at uni, and I was the first person in my whole family to go to uni, and really the reality was that that's not what I was doing, and I really couldn't fathom that in my head. So I was way worse in my second year than what I was in my first year, and I promised myself that I wouldn't get like that. But this was when I started to think maybe university just isn't for me, and it got to the point where I didn't even go to my exams, and I told everyone that I was, and I didn't sit one of my second year exams, and then I told my mum that I sat my exams. And then in summer I made the decision to actually drop out. So I'd finished my second year, even though I hadn't gone to my exams or anything. And then I went home and I had the most amazing summer of my life with my friends and my family. And 2 weeks before I was meant to go back to uni, I actually made the decision to drop out and never return to Northampton University again, because it actually made me really mentally unwell. And when I think about the house that I lived in for second year, all I can think of is dark moments and blurriness, and it shouldn't really be like that. And I just figured out after 2 years that university wasn't for me. And yeah, people will say that that's really late. How did it take you 2 years to figure out it wasn't for you? But that is just the way it went. Like, I was a little bit down in first year, but didn't really think anything of it, and was determined to make the most of it in second year. And again, like, that just wasn't the way that it went. And it was second year that I really, like, understood my feelings towards it. And when I dropped out of university and I told a lot of my friends, a lot of them did judge me and gave me a lot of hate for it, which was horrible because I was so confused at the time. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And for them to kind of judge me like that was, like, really, really tragic. When, like, nobody knew really the battle that I was fighting with, like, being down and stuff, and that's truly the reason why I just didn't want to go back. But I didn't want to tell anyone that because I'm quite a private person, but they still, like, they just judged me, and it just wasn't nice. And so I stayed at my job that I had had since my second year of sixth form, and I like, at first I was just going to stay there for a few months and then try and find, like, another job that was more like a career. And then I did get a good few interviews, and I did get a couple of the jobs that I applied for, and then it really stood out to me then that you didn't need a degree to kind of get a career, which is what a lot of people really do think about university, is that you need a degree to get a good job or a well-respected job, and that's just not the case. But anyway, I turned down these jobs because after I'd come to the knowledge of this, I thought, I love my job that I'm in at the moment, and I just wanted some time to chill. Like, I'd been at school, I'd done my GCSEs, I'd done my A-levels, I'd done 2 years of university, and I was just mentally exhausted with all this, like, one after the other thing. So I loved the job that I was in, and I decided to stay there and just chill for a few months. And then they basically, at my job at the time when I dropped out of university, offered me management, and I took it because I thought it would be absolutely, like, why wouldn't you take management? So I did, and now I'm here. Like, I'm still at that job, and I'm manager, and I worked myself all the way up, and I'm really, really proud of myself for doing that, and actually taking like a leap to really nourish myself and my self, like, care and things like that, because I feel like a lot of people at uni push past the fact that they're not liking it or not enjoying it, and they almost force themselves to get a degree that actually you don't really need. And so I'm still at my job, and I'm manager, and I love it, and it's all going really well, and all my friends that were at university have now graduated, and they're doing really well. And I know that university isn't going to be for everyone, but it is going to be for some people, like my friends, and I just think you really need to find out what is for you and what isn't, and the only way you can really do that is by trying. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you've got yourself into debt for no reason, and yeah, I did, but I am in debt from university. But really, what's more important, the debt or my health and happiness and welfare? And I chose that, and I think anyone should choose that over anything, because at the end of the day, that is all that really matters. And you realise that one door closes for another to open, and that is what happened for me with university. It just wasn't for me, and that's fine. And I think people need to come to terms with the fact that sometimes university isn't going to be for you, and it's not, and that is okay, even though your family and your school and your friends are all pushing you to go and stay and get a degree. But if it's not for you, then just remember that that is okay. And that was the message that I wanted to get across. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I will see you soon.